you can also show your creativity and your analytical skill in such type of questions. That is why I am saying that you should in fact be looking for this type of questions. Let me read this question. Question number 5C. Growth of transnational corporations and their state-indifferent nature and the spread of capitalism have made state irrelevant and obsolescent. Comment. As I am saying, you should be looking forward for this type of question, because this question can give you additional marks. This question can give you space for your own creativity, for your additional input, which will be slightly different from your conventional textbookish answer. See, this question is saying that to put it simply, the growth of transnational corporations or multinational companies, these big corporations, in the era of globalization or with the growth of capitalism, this has resulted into the undermining of the role, the traditional role of the state, in fact, the very sovereign role of the state. So here few things are used, that growth of traditional transnational corporations and their state-indifferent nature and the spread of capitalism has made state irrelevant and obsolete. Comment. See, one part of your answer could be including some very conventional analysis, and the other part could include some contemporary examples, cases to support your conventional analysis. See, for quite some time, in the theory of public administration, there is a discussion on the increasing role of the private sector. In fact, in this context, the increasing role, increasing capacity of private sector organizations, moreover, those being the multinational companies or transnational companies, the companies having their business or operation in more than one country, their boundary not restricted to one single country, rather beyond one country or spanning entire globe. In fact, there are theorists who are emphasizing that in this era of globalization, moreover, in this backdrop of increasing significance of economics in governance, the role and the capacity of this multinational organization has grown significantly. With the help of transnational political organizations like World Bank, IMF, European Union, or various foreign government aid organizations, mainly the big government foreign aid organizations, whether USAID or GTZ, German organization. Many of these international political organizations, they have been promoting free trade, liberalization, and in fact increasing the presence, role and operation of these transnational organizations. And in the due course, these transnational organizations are gradually replacing the functions those were traditionally taken up by the state or the nation states. Not only the trade related functions, certain functions with regard to delivery of goods and services, but also certain typical social functions. and also traditionally considered sovereign functions. So many theorists in this context, they have voiced that these transnational organizations are gradually taking onto themselves certain functions those were traditionally given or carried out by the state or the nations, and thereby resulting into these organizations operating as new state organizations or new trans-state organizations, because they don't have a boundary, new trans-state organizations, and also undermining the sovereignty and authority of the states, the political entity that is the state. In fact, theorists like Craig Murphy would refer something as global governance. In this new era of global governance, where certain transnational political organizations like World Bank, IMF, or European Union, these are playing very important role. The transnational corporations are carrying out certain functions those were usually traditionally carried out by the state, and thereby undermining the state and its authority. In this particular context, as I told, that you can introduce some of your own understanding through your generalized readings. Like, let's say, in support of this argument, you can bring in the example of Facebook. See, Facebook recently has introduced his own currency, Libra. Traditionally, currency, monetary policies, these are the part of the state, sovereign function of the state. Now, with a type of cryptocurrency introduced by Facebook, is a behemoth, is a big multinational organization. It is acquiring a new capacity onto itself, that the currency is no more the exclusive authority of a state. In fact, it is in time to come, it is gradually going to deal with through, or the Facebook is going to deal through its own currency. Though, as the Facebook has claimed that it will be not an autonomous coin or currency, it will be linked to certain stable currency, but still, the Facebook having access to huge database, and at the same time, the type of situations it has been earlier in violating privacy, in violating number of laws and norms. See, this very thing is subject to suspicion. Not only this, if you take into account, let's say, the Amazon, Google, so these are organizations with huge financial base and global presence. Now, they're setting up what you can say infrastructure in physical locations where there will be social facilities, physical infrastructure, housing establishments. So it will be something like a mini state, and they are establishing a number of places. Even recently in San Francisco, Google has announced $1 billion housing project. So now, if you take into account these bigger organizations, they traditionally what used to be a part of urban planning or the social provision responsibility for the state, now these bigger organizations are entering into that and started doing these activities which traditionally has been the part of the state. If you take into account Uber, or for that matter, let's say Airbnb. See, now recently the Uber has encouraged its own subscribers to raise their voice against the the increasing regulation over its operation by the states. A similar type of encouragement has been given by Airbnb, where it is urging its let's say subscribers to in fact raise their voice against the financial regulation that it is facing. So, if you take into account these examples, it is adequately indicative of the fact that how these multinational companies are entering into certain activities which has been traditionally reserved for the state, whether control of information, currency, or activities relating to social infrastructure, all this now being taken up by these multinational companies. And not only in this backdrop, we can refer to the Cambridge Analytica scandal. In this Cambridge Analytica scandal, it was very much apparent that how the multinational companies, they were engaging in the violation of privacy in terms of, let's say, misuse of data, and through that influencing public opinion, political opinion, and trying to actually do certain things that otherwise is not expected of this major transnational organizations or multinational organizations. In this way, they have developed a capacity, they are acquiring a capacity, in fact, to resolve, to bring about political instability in states, and moreover, as far as the weaker governments are concerned, they can hold enormous power over them. So these are certain things you can write in order to support your argument. That's what I'm saying. Such type of question you should instead looking for where you can introduce, apart from your current conventional analysis, your general knowledge to support it, to reinforce and enrich your answer. So this is what you can write in this particular question. Next is 5D. This is also a very straight question. Lickardt's views on system 4 turns out to be bookish